What's up, guys? It's your boy DS, and today I want to be showing you guys the brand new updated Lash build. Now, a couple of things to note. Number one, this is after the patch where they nerfed a little bit of the Lash build. I'm going to tell you right now up front, this build still works perfectly fine. Some of the things they nerfed, yeah, it matters a little bit, but the cohesiveness of this build and how the entire build works together, it doesn't really matter. That, you know, the things that they changed, the build still works amazingly. Now, number two, there are going to be a couple of different changes. I saw a couple of different people using these things. One of the main people that I saw doing it was DSGaming. So I want to go ahead and make a video updating you guys on the new build, because this build is absolutely insane. Now, on top of that, I will be going over the aspects and everything like that. So if you guys are level 50 plus and different things like that, you guys will be able to use this build also. But this is a build that you can use for the entire duration of the game, from level 1 all the way up to level 70 plus and everything like that. Now that we've got all of that out of the way, I want to go ahead and get into everything so you guys know exactly what I did and what you guys should be doing. So, starting out, looking at the skills. Obviously, we are still going to have the Lash. It's still going to be 5 of 5. And then we are going to have the 2 upgrades. Also, just real quick, I do have the link in the description if you guys want to go to the Diablo 4 builder and see everything for yourself. I have that in the description as well, so you guys can check that out. But anyway, we do have this all maxed out. Obviously, we're keeping it there. Then we move to here. We're going to have 1 point in a fireball because we are using this for an enchantment. This is still going to be an amazing addition to the build. We're going to keep it there. We have no other upgrades in this, right? All of this is going to be nothing. Now, this is from like some gear, but don't worry about those two. Moving down here, this is where we get into it pretty heavily. We have 1 point into flame shield, teleport, ice armor, and frost nova, and we're going to be having the 2 upgrades for each of these. Now, the reason why is because in the patch, they basically wanted to nerf a little bit of the survivability. But on top of that, they did try to nerf a little bit of the damage, and the flame shield is going to give us more survivability. But on top of that, it lights the enemies on fire, which later on y'all are going to see. This is going to add a bunch of more damage to the build. But on top of that, we also get movement speed, and we are going to get healed every time we use this ability. Now, the cool thing about this is, with that being the case, now we have 1 shield, 2 shield, and then we have this defensive ability as well. On top of, we will have 3 points in the elemental attunement, which is just going to basically allow us to reset the cooldown on one of these spells. Now, I'm telling you up front, whenever you start fights, you primarily want to use Frost Nova first, right? You use Frost Nova first. When Frost Nova is on cooldown, you'll use your ice armor. The only time you need to use your flame shield is number 1, if you lost some HP, so you can heal that HP back up. And then if you're trying to burst an enemy down, you can use your Frost Nova and your Flame Shield at the same time, because that's going to be giving you even more damage. And like I said, I'll get into that once we get a little bit lower. But yeah, we're going to have 1 into each of these. We're going to have the upgrades for all of them, and then we're going to have the Elemental Attunement plus 3. So now that we're done talking about that, let's move down here. Down here, we're going to have all 3 points into Precision Magic, because we do want to have that increased lucky hit chance. On top of that, we're going to have 1 point right here, so we can get that damage reduction on the elites and those type of monsters as well. And then we're going to have, this is something new to it, we're going to have 3 points in a protection. What this does is every single time we use a cooldown, 30% of our maximum HP becomes a barrier. This is going to increase our survivability even more, because every single skill in this build is a cooldown. So anytime you use Ice Shield, Frost Nova, Flame Shield, Teleport, even when you use your ultimate, you will be getting a barrier for 2 seconds. So basically, you're going to be just having barriers up over and over non-stop. You're going to be taking minimal damage, and for any of the little bit of damage you do take, Flame Shield will be able to heal you. Now, we still want to keep 1 point into Lightning Spear, and we want to get the upgrade for crit chance, and we want to get the stun. The reason why is because obviously when you ult, a bunch of lightning spears are going to be coming out, and it does scale off of your lightning spear here, so these upgrades will be applied to the lightning spears coming out of your ultimate. So we will be able to stun and crit off of those. So that's going to be really, really good for the build. We want to make sure that we keep that on there. Scrolling down to here, This is why I said the flame shield is going to be getting us a lot more damage. We are going to be getting this upgrade right here, Inner Flames. Your Pyromancy deals 3% increased damage while you're healthy, which we should be healthy all the time, but this is not the main reason. The main reason is right here. We want to put 3 points into this, and as you guys see, you deal 30% increased critical strike damage against burning enemies. If they are also immobilized, this bonus is increased to 75%. Now, we are running a crit stun build, so we're going to be critting as much as possible. Now, on top of us doing that extra damage and critting as much as possible, it says immobilized, meaning if they're stunned, which we are going to be stunning as much as possible, we are getting a 30 to 75% increased bonus damage just because we're running Flame Shield. So if you do want to burst an enemy, you're going to pop that Frost Nova, and you're going to pop that Flame Shield, and that's going to be dishing out tons of damage. I didn't go over these increases that much, but this is going to basically reduce your cooldown whenever you kill frozen enemies. On top of, you can now make enemies vulnerable. So that burst with the Flame Shield and the Frost Nova is just going to be very, very insane. And then we've already went over these two upgrades, so I'm not going to go over those too much. But anyway, we will still be having the 1 in a static discharge and then the +3 in a shocking impact, just so we can get the increased stun damage. Pretty normal for this build. And then we're going to come down here to the ultimate. We'll obviously have the ult with 1 upgrade, because this is going to increase our attack speed, and attack speed is very, very important when it comes to this build, because the primary thing you're going to be doing is auto attacking with that arc lash. So make sure you guys get that. Then you want to come right here, and we're going to talk about Coursing Currents. Hitting enemies with shock will just increase your crit chance. We want to crit, so we need this at +3. We have gone ahead and put this at +3 because now enemies are going to be doing less damage to you after you critically strike them. And we are literally, I know I keep repeating myself, it's repetitive, but that's just how the build works. So anyways, you crit an enemy, they're going to do less damage to you. Moving on to the last one, Convulsions. Once again, anytime you hit an enemy with anything, you have a chance to stun. Very, very good. And then obviously we're going to be ending it off with Veer's Mastery, giving you increased damage and making enemies do less damage to you. So overall, I've used 53 points. There are 5 points that you can get, and that's from the reputation and renown of the areas. I haven't got those extra 5 points. Once you get those 5 points, that's basically just going to go into some of your other abilities and things like that. You can get a couple of points into your Fireball, and then get a couple points into anything else that you need and stuff like that. So yeah, there are 5 more points out there that I haven't got yet, but this is pretty much the complete build. The other 5 points are pretty much just adding a couple of points into extra stuff. So now that we're done talking about the skills, I want to go into the enchantments real quick. Obviously, we're going to be rocking the exact same enchantments, because whenever you use a cooldown, any enemy in the area is stunned. This is just going to be very cohesive with the build, so this is something that you're obviously going to want to be using. And then Fireball, because Fireball is still amazing for the build. You're still going to be getting those AoE explosions off. You're going to be dealing damage to tons of enemies. It's going to be very, very good. And I'll be sure to showcase all of this, don't worry. So now that we're done talking about that, I do want to talk about the aspects. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the aspects real quick. The aspects that you guys are going to be wanting to look to use, and I'll show you guys my gear and everything as well. The aspects you're going to be wanting to look to use. Edge Master's aspect is very good because you get up to 10% increased damage based on your available primary resource, which is your mana. But this build uses no mana, so you're going to have this bonus for the entire time. So it's just a flat 10%, well, not flat, but it's a 10% increase to damage always. Very, very good aspect to have. Moving on to the next one, Rapid Aspect. Basic skills, which is your auto attack, gains increased attack speed. This is going to be very, very good for the build because you want to be attacking as fast as possible. Now, if you guys want to know where to get these, they tell you at the bottom there, right there, Old Stones, Buried Halls. So just all you gotta do is look it up, and they'll be, you know, exactly where you need to get them. The next one I want to talk about is going to be, where is it at? This one right here, Aspect of Control. You deal 25% more damage to immobilized, stunned, or frozen enemies. Now, this is so good because you will be stunning enemies, you will be freezing enemies. So anytime that happens, you're just doing even more damage to them than you normally would. It just all works together to make the build super insane. Now, the last one I want to talk about is the aspect of might. Basic skills grant 20% damage reduction for 20 seconds, or 2 seconds, excuse me. You're going to be auto-attacking literally all the time. So this is just going to be a 20% damage reduction buff infinitely. It's never going to go away because you're always going to be auto-attacking. Very, very good to put on your character. Now, looking at my gear, I've already started to put some of these things on there, and the ones that I don't have on there yet, I will be putting on there a little bit later. So, looking at my build or my gear, as you can see on the right, I have the basic attack percent. Now, I got lucky to have a piece of gear that had a really high percent, so I put that on the neck piece, and mine's at 42 attack percent, which is really, really fast. If you look up here, this is not any of the aspects that I mentioned, but this is something that's going to be very, very beneficial to the build. If you guys have any helmets or any aspects with this, you guys want to make sure you use this. Frost Nova gains an additional charge, but the cooldown per charge is increased by 39%. Now, Frost Nova getting 2 charges means that you can make enemies vulnerable twice, you can freeze enemies twice, you get a shield twice, you stun twice. It is going to be a massive increase to what you can do with this build because of this passive right here. Now, moving on to the chest piece, as you guys see, I do have that skill, that damage reduction for 2% for 2 seconds on here, right there. As far as my gloves go, I haven't. This is the passive. Don't worry about the passive. I need to change my gloves. I'll change it sometime soon. I only have the gloves on because it gives me 2 ranks and a fireball, which is pretty nice. And then the boots, I don't have anything too decent on the boots yet either. But I do have another evade charge, so that's nice. And then I get movement speed when I teleport, so that's nice as well. So this is just what I have on. As far as the weapon, I don't have anything on the weapon yet. But there is a passive out there that I'm looking for where you do increased damage if you have a barrier. You're getting a barrier from every single ability you cast, on top of you having Flame Shield and Ice Armor. So whenever I find the aspect or the passive where you do extra damage with barriers, I'm going to be putting that on my weapon. So there you guys go as far as that. Now, if you guys wanted to know, as far as my pants go, this is a sacred pair of pants. You can get these from the nightmare dungeons. It's not that difficult to drop. These actually dropped. I didn't even know they dropped. I went to my storage and it said, hey, missed rewards, and it was right there. So if you guys are able to get this, do that. This is probably one of the biggest things for this build, and the reason why is because enemies that die while frozen have a 19% chance to unleash a Frost Nova. Now, you're going to be freezing enemies all the time, so that is going to be very, very beneficial to you as far as when this is proccing. Very, very, very good. But anyways, that is the aspects and everything like that. So for anyone that wanted to know the aspects and information, there you guys go as far as there. Now, I want to talk about the Paragon Board a little bit. I have not gotten that into the Paragon Board. I'm only level 50, but for any of you that are a little bit higher and you guys want to know a little bit what to do, you basically want to go on the damage side, at least for your first page. As you guys see, the left side is going to be giving you defense and resilience and stuff. You want to make your way on this right side to get to this damage node, which is going to give you flat 10% damage right there. And then once you get up here, you're going to be basically wanting to get over here to this damage node as well. So for the first page, you basically are going to be wanting to go the damage route for your Paragon page. I am going to be trying to level up as fast as possible. If you guys haven't seen my leveling guide, I actually just dropped one last night. But anyway, I'm going to be doing as soon as I get up, get my levels up, I am going to be making some more information and videos on the Paragon board, so stay tuned for that. But anyways, that is pretty much the entire build. If you guys wanted to know all the information and everything like that, there you guys go. And now that we're done talking about all of that, I want to go ahead and get into some gameplay to show you guys exactly how it works. I'm going to do 2 showcases. One is going to be the Fireball Arc Lash Ultimate AoE, and then the second one is pretty much going to be the Frost Nova showcase. So anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. So for the fireball damage, I'm going to go ahead and be doing the run that I was talking about. So we're going to aggro them. We're going to aggro those enemies down there, aggro the enemies on the right, and then we're gonna aggro the enemies on the left. And then as you guys see, pop your ult, and then after you pop your ult, look at the AoE. They literally all just blew up. They just blew up. And keep in mind, I didn't even use my flame shield or my frost nova. I made sure to only use, I used my ice armor just so I didn't take a whole bunch of damage. And then on top of that, I used my ultimate. That was all I did. And as you see, one enemy died, and then every enemy just started exploding. So if you ever fight or encounter massive waves of enemies or anything like that, you guys are going to be able to take them out very, very quickly. Now, obviously, there are going to be instances where you need to fight without your ult, and in those instances, you do just fine as well. So I am now in a dungeon, so I'm going to be showing you guys the build, basically whenever you're just, you know, running around and doing stuff and different things like that. So we're not going to do the entire dungeon, but I just want to show you guys a little bit so that you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about. So as you guys see right here, whole bunch of enemies around you. You can use your Frost Nova. One enemy dies, a bunch of enemies die. And that's only one Frost Nova. You can use another one if you need to. Let's say you take some damage, you can use your Flame Shield. And this is without using the ult, right? Like, let's say that we basically use the Frost Nova with the ult. You're going to be doing insane. Like, it's going to be ridiculous amounts of damage. So now that we got some enemies around, you use this, use your ult, and it's going to be the exact same outcome. Enemies are going to be exploding left and right. So as you guys saw right there, Frost Nova is going to be an insane addition to this build. On top of that, the Flame Shield is going to be giving you defensive capabilities with blocking damage. It's going to be healing you, and it's going to be giving you offensive capabilities with burning the enemies and having them take increased damage because they're burnt. This build has absolutely not been nerfed. A lot of people are asking if this build's still viable after the patch, or if we need to look for a different build. The answer is no. The build is thriving. It's actually upgrading. The build is perfectly fine. So anyway, that's going to be it for this video. Be sure to give a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Comment down below. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section. With that being said, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.